If you're like most people, you're probably sitting there wondering, who's Myra Bradwell? Bradwell is the first female attorney in the United States. Although she didn't practice law with a license. Really, the first legal female attorney was Arabella Mansfield. However, she didn't utilize her license to practice. Instead, she was a professor. Bradwell was born February 12, 1831 in Manchester, Vermont. In 1852, she was married to James Bradwell, who was admitted to the Chicago bar in 1855. Together, they had 3 kids. She would help her husband with his legal practice. Through this, she gained knowledge. After being rejected from the bar, she started the Chicago Legal News in 1868. She used this as a platform to talk about new laws, to give her opinions on the subject, and to promote women's rights. Through her publishings, along with the help of her husband, she was able to grant women the power to serve in education positions of power, as well as eventually getting women the right to vote in county elections. However, the legal news was not just positive things. Her work is riddled with racism, anti-Semitism, and even some things that would be problematic to women. However, most of this can be overlooked when you think of the time period. It wasn't a very accepting time. Myra Bradwell kept close correspondence with Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. After Abraham Lincoln's death, Mary Todd Lincoln's son Robert had her imprisoned in an insane asylum under the grounds that she was overspending, which in the time, in a very sexist world, made you insane. Myra Bradwell is the reason that Mary Todd Lincoln got to go free. With many letters back and forth between the two and publishings in her newspaper, eventually she was able to persuade Robert and the judges to let Mary Todd Lincoln out of prison. Bradwell also had correspondence with Susan B. Anthony. However, it didn't seem like Bradwell really liked Anthony. Many letters that have been recovered are from Anthony to Bradwell with no signs of a response. Many times, Anthony criticized Bradwell because she didn't donate financially or help benefit the cause that Anthony was looking for. There's a lot of petty things in the letters from Anthony to Bradwell. It's safe to say that Susan B. Anthony is the reason that Myra Bradwell is usually forgotten. She wasn't included in Anthony's history of women's suffrage, except for a single picture. There was no mention of the achievements of Bradwell, despite the fact that Anthony had asked for some of those. This is the reason many historians believe that Bradwell has been mostly forgotten. In 1890, Bradwell was finally granted her license after publishing for years under the Chicago Legal News. However, sadly, she died 4 years later on February 14, 1894. Her legacy lives on through her children, who ran the Chicago Legal News. However, there's not much known about Myra Bradwell, and this biography was one of the only books or information I could find on her. However, I think she's a really interesting character, and I'd like to know more.